good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is you tune into this. My name's Candy Wishman. I'm a psychic intuitive, and I love to use human design to talk about the energies that we're going to be feeling for a few days. I do have videos on understanding what human design is, and there's a link to a playlist in the description box below. So if some of these terms don't make sense to you, I'll do my best to explain them. But if you want to learn more about all of these things, please go on to that link in the description box and feel free to watch those. They're little informative videos about human design and how it works and all that good stuff. I like to look at it somewhat like an astrology chart. The sun enters a new frequency of energy every few days. It traverses through a zodiac sign, right? Through the entire year. But there are different layers to the zodiac signs. And this one, we're in Virgo, but this is at gate 47, and it traverses, the sun is in gate 47, okay, between September 10th and December. Wow, I can't even talk. Okay, let's clear this out. I'm not even gonna, if y'all are new here, this is very common for me. I will mess up. It just is what it is. If you're not new here, this is nothing new for you. So, September 10th to September 14th, the sun is in gate 47, which is in Virgo. As it goes through Virgo season, it enters different gates, and the different gates help us with different things in our life. It represents a specific energy or a specific part of us that needs bolstering or healing, or something that needs to come from our subconscious to our conscious so that we can continue to evolve and heal and learn and all that good stuff. So gate 47 is about healing the victim of your karma. Now I want to talk a little bit about karma and what I understand it to be, because I know sometimes when you hear karma, it's all vengeance and action and consequence. You know, karma's a bigger bitch than I am kind of a deal, and that can be true for sure. I want to share with you the deeper meaning it has for me, because to understand our actions and why we act the way that we do, we have to understand why. And I'm a big proponent of innocence, especially if some part of you knows what you're doing isn't okay. And this isn't about intentional harm. And I mean, we can get into those kinds of things. Sorry, I just want to bring my thing over here so I can put my foot up. Just getting comfortable. So here's the deal. To me, karma is old, stagnant energy that no longer serves. So you might have a belief system, you might have a way of operating within a pattern, conditioning or programming that once served you. It kept you safe, it allowed you to adapt, whatever it was. Generally, these are formed in childhood through our experiences. In order to stay safe, we begin operating a certain way. This could be beliefs and opinions that were projected on you at a time when you were impressionable, so you took it on as your belief too. The thing is when we change and we shift and we grow, our beliefs and opinions and our energy also needs to do that. So if we hang on to old energy and we're still operating from an unconscious place, okay, I'm getting a little heads up. I just need to explain what I understand subconscious, unconscious, and consciousness to be, okay? So subconscious is the part of us, or part of our mind, okay, that was formed at a time when we believed everything was true in our childhood. It's where our protective ego lies. It's where we kind of shelter our wounds out of fear. It's all of those things. The subconscious part of us denotes where we operate unconsciously. The reason it's considered unconscious is because we're not aware that we're operating from a place of subconsciousness. And there's a barrier there. So the depth that you can and understand that is the depth with which you understand your subconscious. It's just understanding. If you look back Because if you're here, you're probably somewhat conscious and aware of the subconscious. If you look back at yourself and you're like, wow, that behavior wasn't like me, it's because you were operating from a place of unconsciousness. You were on autopilot. Your subconscious was running the show because that's what it was developed to protect you. It was developed to keep you safe. So when you start to learn these things and understand what it all is, you're starting to dismantle the subconscious and therefore behave and act and think more consciously. With this particular energy, I feel we're going to be really given the gift of transmuting the past, and we're healing the wound of our karma. What did we take on that is no longer serving us? In order for us to actually do anything about it, it has to make itself known to us. And you don't have to figure it all out right now. Just be mindful of what's coming up for you, belief-wise and opinion-wise. We're really, truly dissolving what oppresses us within the mind. And that's so we can feel free to live beyond our perceived circumstances. I feel like, and here's the thing, I've been doing the deep subconscious work for at least 5 years now. And that might not seem like a long time, but it is a long time. And I know that even I've only, scraped the tip of the iceberg, or whatever it is, the surface of this, how our subconscious is. And I have to remind myself, because this is my own, again, this is a really good example. So unconsciously, right, depending on what beliefs I took on, I might believe that in order for me to be truly healed, I need to be fully aware of when I'm unconscious all the time. That's near next to humanly impossible. We just don't know what we don't know. When we do know, we have the opportunity to do better, but we don't always know what we know. So we don't know what we don't know. So that's an oppressive belief for me. I'm oppressing myself. I'm giving myself unrealistic standards to live by, as if I could possibly in any moment understand the depth of my subconscious, it's hard. I don't know. Maybe there are some people who can do it. I'm not going to be in the all or nothing, but for me personally, I know. So that's how I kind of combat my own oppressive thoughts, is I'm like, is this even humanly possible? Am I setting myself up for failure? Because we get an opportunity to really look at what we hold against ourselves from a place of our mental capacity. What are we holding in our belief systems and opinions that are keeping us oppressed? Okay. So how it may affect you. Feeling oppressed by your thoughts or what you assume about the future. So only being able to see outcomes you've witnessed or heard about. This is a really hard one. And I felt it quite a bit a couple days ago. If you're like me, you might feel the shift in energy. Like I do this with the moon cycle sometimes. Like I'll feel the full moon a couple days before the full moon, kind of a deal. So you might have that too. And I was feeling really hopeless yesterday. I'm like, what is this? Because it didn't quite feel like I had anything to stick it to, so it could be outside of me. But I paid attention to where my mind was trying to fit it into my life. So sometimes external energies will help me understand myself better, and sometimes they'll confuse me. It just is what it is. We just get to play it by ear. So for me, I'm like, well, this has never happened. Why would it ever happen for me? Like, it's kind of like feeling hopeless about things you can't fathom happening. Same thing. I have a defined crown and a defined ajna. My ability to imagine things that don't exist is like legendary. It's probably one of the things that makes life harder for me, because the possibilities that come with that are endless and not necessarily in alignment. But it's hard so in this energy, you might have been taught to believe that if you've never experienced it, it's almost that whole needing the physical reality to prove what you know to be true, right? So if there's never been proof of it, then how do you know it's true? That's an oppressive belief. it's such an interesting thing. So feel into that. Trying to grasp onto rules and structure from a false sense of security. We have to do this in order for things to happen properly. If you don't do this properly, things aren't going to work out. That's an oppressive thought. That's like, think about all the things that you've done that you didn't do properly and they still turned out, right? So this whole, and I'm going to say this probably for every energy forecast I do, it's going to be super important for you to allow yourself to observe and witness your own reaction and responses to things and be like, okay, is this actually serving me? Is it making me feel better? Sometimes we are taught things, and again, what we've absorbed from others may have served in the moment, but if they're not serving you, they're going to become a karmic energy where they are continuing to perpetuate unconscious behavior or reactions or decisions from a place of old energy, and it's going to create a karmic effect for you. It's going to have karmic consequences, and not necessarily in a bad way. I don't see karma as a bad thing anymore. Like, let's say, I don't know. I just see it. I see karma sometimes as those tower moments, like that come in and completely knock the wind out of us. But they had to come in because we weren't consciously aware that we were on the wrong path, or that, we were out of alignment. They kind of happened to allow us to course correct in the most natural way. And it doesn't feel good. And I don't wish anybody to feel bad, but I got to tell you, I feel like they just make the fact that we don't feel good obvious. Because if we're out of alignment, we're on the wrong path, we're doing things unconsciously, but we've learned to numb how we feel. We've learned to numb all the bad feelings inside of us. I feel like it just breaks the cabinet door and everything tumbles out, those tower moments. I don't think it actually makes things bad for us. I think it just makes us aware of how bad things have gotten for us. And sometimes that can be humbling and humiliating, and sometimes it can be sad and painful. But to me, maybe because I find knowledge powerful, I feel like when we allow ourselves to let those moments show us what's going on, we're more empowered to do something about it. It's hard to do something about things that we don't know are there. Like, if you've learned to shut your feelings down or bury your wounds or, shove things down, all of a sudden they're all coming up. Like, you're not going to be aware of the stuff that's not okay for you, because you've learned to shove it down. You've learned to band-aid it and just focus. Like, it's going to be really interesting. You're going to see a lot of people, I feel, even rejecting a lot of the mindset stuff. And the mindset stuff is magical unless it's helping you avoid what you're really feeling. We can't ignore our feelings. We can't go up into our head and try to logic things anymore. Everything has to work together. It's not the mind is less and the emotions are more, or it's like things have to be in equality. So that's what I feel. I don't know. It's hard because you don't want to wish those things on people. At the same time, sometimes it's the greatest thing that could happen to somebody is to recognize that, I'm off my path and I need to do something about it. But it's hard to do something about things if you don't know what's wrong. So the tower moments are hard, but I feel like they help us understand what's really going on within us so that we can actually do something about it. Okay, so witnessing in others. You may see other people operating from a place of oppression and fear as their safety blanket is being ripped off. Like, our, burying how we feel and our unconscious behavior, our subconscious protocols, those are our safety blankets. They kept us safe, except that when we no longer need them, they tend to be more harmful to us than, if we actually say thank you for helping us and it's time to move on from this kind of a deal. You may feel a lot of their fear being projected onto you as a means of them wanting you to be afraid too. Safety in numbers, not wanting to feel alone. I know that there's a lot of stuff happening in the world right now, especially in social media. People are going to want you to side with them and get passionate about it, whatever it is they're trying to protect themselves from. So there may be some rejection and energy you feel from people if you're not participating in the fear, or you can just sit back and observe and kind of send them love, because that's just a sign that they're struggling with their own fears about things, but they don't know how to deal with it yet because they're still unconscious to what's going on inside of them. So they're going to project fear outward as if that means they're doing something about it. It's just how we're conditioned and how we're programmed in society to handle things. Okay, you may see people say "F it, I can't do this anymore," and break themselves free out of nowhere. People might be like, "I'm done with whatever this is," right? It can go either way. So just know that if somebody's, there's going to be a lot of fearful reactions because we've depended so much on the mind to handle things, but the mind can only handle things in the way with which it's been programmed. And a lot of the programming is outdated. So just a heads up. So energy-based connections, twin flames, divine connections, you may feel disconnected still from your person in some way. There's a lot happening energetically. Your mind may make you feel like there's no hope there. Like there's no hope with this connection. Some of you might be being like, "I need to walk away from this. It's never going to go anywhere." That's the belief system, looking at the past and thinking the past can actually project, it can actually make your future. But you wouldn't be here where you are right now if you were still the past version of yourself. And if you're not the past version of yourself, your person certainly isn't the past version of their self. So feel into that. And there's no judgment in that, because like I said, so I was doing that all day yesterday. I'm like, what is this? But I'm able to be like, ooh, this doesn't feel good. Do I want to how do I want to lean into this? How do I want to feel into it? Like, is it going to make me feel better to go down a rabbit hole mentally? Or can I let it just kind of unfold for me? It takes practice, and it's certainly not something I've mastered, but it is something that I find helps me. Your mind may want to make you go over the past again and again as if it proves how the future will be. Like, it's almost like the mind sometimes looks for things, because this is how our protective ego works. Our protective ego wants to keep us safe, and in order to keep us safe, we can't evolve, grow, and change. That's just how it is. So it's always going to want you to pick apart the past, being, well, my person did this or my person did that, and they're never going to change. But it doesn't really focus on the ways that they showed you that they have changed. So my advice with this is, if you find yourself picking your person apart, take a deep breath and step back. There's no need for you to make a decision about your person. That's your fear making you feel you have to decide something in order to feel better. Okay, you're putting a lot of responsibility on yourself with something that you can't foresee in the future. And in this energy where there's going to be this pressurized sense of over-responsibility, as if you have to do something a certain way in order to make it better, it's not going to really serve. You may find yourself almost superstitiously trying to do things correctly, spiritual wise, out of the belief that it will protect you from the pain, or that if you don't, it'll mess things up. So that's that over leveraged responsibility. A lot of you, especially those that are destined to wake up in this lifetime to this depth, you were 100% made to, especially because you were sensitive. You were programmed and conditioned, as a child, to be mindful of how everyone else feels, to make sure you're doing the correct thing, as to not upset anyone around you. This is going to play out in your connection in some way. So if you have belief systems where you feel you are responsible for everything, they're going to come up right now. And you get to feel, does this feel good to feel this? Does this feel good to feel so rigid about connecting with spirit and source and your person's higher self or whatever? Does it feel rigid? And does that rigidity feel good, or is it a false sense of security? right? You can't mess things up. And I 100%, I do this when I go to bed at night with spirit. Like last night I was so tired, and I have this spiel. I call on Archangel Michael, and I ask him to protect me and my person, only allowing him what's for our greatest and highest good. And, what else was I going to say? Greatest and highest good. Please help dissolve or cut away any energetic attachments with other people that are no longer. I have this huge spiel, and I feel if I don't get it all out, something bad's going to happen. But we're divinely protected. And truly, it's only if we believe something bad that we tend to manifest it in some way. And I don't even want to put fear into that. It just kind of happens because we think about it so much, and it just becomes a thing. So I don't know. I think with this, it's sort of letting yourself be observant of how you're responding and reacting to your connection at this time, and leaning into, does it actually feel good? Does it feel good? Are you getting the resolution you're looking for, or is it making you feel more restless and desperate? Because if it's making you feel more restless and desperate, chances are it's an old energy that you're still operating from. Okay. Physical relationships. So this is all about the beliefs that keep you oppressed in any relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic, but it will help you discern where you're oppressing yourself in a relationship out of fear. So many relationships are codependent in the sense that they become familiar with people, and therefore they feel a level of security. But in this energy, if the relationship isn't healthy, they're going to realize they're not secure at all. If it's a friendship that you don't feel, really safe in, really, but because maybe you've known them for 20 years, are you obligated to stay in that friendship, or has the friendship, run its course? Whatever that is, it's not really an all or nothing. You don't have to go around telling people you don't want to be in their lives, or, but if you're in a relationship purely out of security or purely out of familiarity, as if that makes things easier, it's not. It's going to make things harder. It's going to continue making things harder for people. So I feel like, even for me yesterday, I went on my Facebook and I'm like, I don't know why I'm friends with so many of these people. I don't interact with them. I kept mostly family and people that I'm kind of friends with, but I unfriended a lot of people, and not because they did anything wrong, but I just realized, I'm like, why am I connected? There hasn't really been a whole lot of interaction with a lot of these people over the years, and I just seemed like, to me, it's just a dissolving of the obligation we sometimes feel. And I was like, oh my God, I feel bad. I don't want to hurt their feelings. They probably don't even give a crap about me because we've never talked for years. It's just so interesting how even my own beliefs and conditions when it comes to relationships is coming to the forefront, and being like, because I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want to be seen as the, whatever. It's just very funny. So here we are. Okay. Human Design Natal Association. So the Gate 47 resides in the Ajna Center. I'm looking down at my laptop if you can't tell. And that's located here. Okay, it's connected to Gate 64, which is the energy we just moved out of. And that creates the channel of rationalization or comprehension. And so if you have this gate manifested in your chart, it'll show up just like this, with the number 47 in a black circle. The energy will play an important role in your life's mastery, and transmuting the past in some way will be super important to your growth. I have this somewhere in my chart, and I meant to look it up before I did this video so I could talk about it. But because I think it's in my discovery or personality Saturn, which means I'm here to it's going to require a little bit more discipline to for me to master the way that my mind works, and how karma, my old energy and my programming conditioning affects my ability to think and make decisions. And it takes a little bit more discipline for me to be mindful of that, because I feel like I do get this, I'm like, sometimes I'll do this with my business, like I've been on Instagram for 5 years and people go on there for 2 months and they've already surpassed me in people. Like I'll get into that defeatist mindset, which was passed down to me through experience in my childhood, because both my parents have that to some degree, and it's intergenerational. So it's something that how I learned to cope with how I'm not okay with something is to feel defeated about it and complain about it. And so this is how, this is my awareness of my own childhood and my own thought process and stuff that helps me get through that. But wherever gate 47 ends up in your chart, and I was going to start doing that. I was going to start doing little videos. I think I'll maybe just for members and for Patreons, I will do like a little spreadsheet to be like, if gate 47's in your, personality sun position, and I was going to do a video, but it's too much. It's too much work. It's just too much. I will do this one. I think I'm going to do with profiles. So I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. I'm getting sidetracked. Okay. So if you have a defined ajna, it'll show up as a filled-in ajna, just like this. It will definitely be easier for you to discern what your beliefs and opinions are and where they come from. Your ability to mentally process these things will be a little bit more refined, but harder to let go of, because you'll be a little bit more attached to your belief systems as a form of security than somebody with an open ajna. So it's sometimes a defined ajna, because I have a defined ajna. So I feel like I can say this. Is that okay? I feel like I can say this, but I feel like if you have a defined ajna, you're a little bit more attached to your opinions and beliefs, and it's harder to admit that they've changed, as if changing the beliefs makes you wrong before. But that's not true, because it served you before, but maybe it doesn't serve you anymore. And if it doesn't serve you anymore, now it's wrong. So here we are. So, okay, if you have an open ajna, it will be harder for you to discern what beliefs and opinions are serving you and what ones aren't, because they all come from outside of you. You'll need to use your defined centers to process, the information, or let your body talk to you. Your body's going to tell you if something feels good or not. I find people with open centers, you can use your body. But if you have other defined centers, if you have a splenic center defined, you're going to want to use your sensing and knowing, your intuition. If you have your throat center defined, you're going to want to talk things out. If you have your sacral defined, you're going to want to let your gut tell you yes or no. If you have your solar plexus defined, you're going to want to let your emotions tell you if something feels good or not. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. It'll be easier for you to let go of things that don't serve you in this capacity, though, because you're not really attached to them. They're things you sampled from other people and they felt good in the moment. But sometimes you may hold on to those energies a little bit longer than you need to. And that's just, it's going to come from practice and learning to, I like to call it an energy dump the energy of others when you no longer need it. So things of note, just a brief one. The moon's position at this time is giving us the gift of emotional expansion, but we may need to feel the need to distract ourselves as to not deal with the uncomfortable emotions. So this is going to play into your belief systems, and what do you do to try to mitigate that feeling of discomfort, especially if you're in a relationship that isn't comfortable, if you're in a friendship that isn't comfortable, if you're in a situation that isn't comfortable, but your beliefs about things and what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to be may be oppressing you. You're going to feel really uncomfortable. So it's going to be key to lean into grace and let yourself feel in ways you were never allowed to as a child. You may have strong beliefs about feeling emotions, and that's old energy from the past that needs to be transmuted. So if this helped you, please like, share, and or subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at HD Heals. It's more dedicated to kids and parents. I use human design to help parents support their kids. And you can also read my blog on my website, www.candywishman.com. If you sign up as a member, it's free, and the only thing you'll get from me is notification that I've put a blog post up. And for Patreons and members on this channel, I'm going to do an extended version of how to deal with this energy based on your profile type. So the archetype you are, if you're a 1-3, a 1-4, that will be posted probably sometime tomorrow. I try to give it a day or a couple days after this video. And I'm going to put out that post of if this gate is in a certain part of your chart, what that means for you in this energy. So I hope this has helped. I'm sending you lots of love, and take care.